Thank you very much, Rick. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're here because you're interested in loyalty marketing and not because you got lost on the way to the wedding chapel or the eye candy lounge, as the case may be. I'm delighted to be here. I know Aimia, which is the oldest, newest brand in loyalty marketing, is delighted to be a sponsor of this great conference. And the next couple of days are going to be action-packed, filled with lots of talk about case histories and best practices and how-tos, and so I'm not going to talk about that this morning. What I'd like to do is to take a few minutes and put loyalty marketing in the context of how it's being applied by chief marketing officers in this day and age. And before I jump in here, just by show of hands, do we have any CMOs in the room this morning? Okay, because there's a bunch that are on the agenda. I think this chief marketing officer has one of the most difficult jobs in corporate life today. The last study I saw indicated that the average tenure of a CMO, regardless of industry, is about 18 months. Or that is until the CEO or the CFO shows up one day and says, marketing isn't working, and starts to look around for new ideas. So I'm going to start this morning with a kind of a not-so-new idea. Which sounds simple enough, but somehow it doesn't seem to get, in my view, the kind of top billing that I think it should get when a CMO is putting together a marketing plan. And that is that creating loyal relationships with your customers is vitally important to successful long-term business. You simply cannot create a healthy, sustainable long-term business if you only think about sales transactions and not about the vital bonds you need to build with those customers you already have. After working in this business for quite a while, I've come to believe that there's this real paradox going on when it comes to understanding loyalty, and I got to confess I have no idea why this is the case. And the paradox goes something like this. I think you're probably all familiar with the marketing pyramid, which is used to design many a marketing plan by the chief marketing officer as a new fiscal or calendar year begins. My experience with CMOs, which is where the paradox kind of starts, is that the first thing they start focusing on is that great corporate asset known as the brand. They think about how to position the brand externally, they write the brand strategy, they meet with the advertising agency, and all of the focus is about generating awareness for the brand to all target audiences and all channels. Next, as we move down the pyramid, they start meeting with the sales force, and the CMO starts thinking about demand generation. They hear the sales force say, bring me some qualified leads and help me nurture those leads through to closing the sale. The acquisition portion of the marketing plan is written, and so far the whole thing has been focused on acquiring new customers. Then we use the tools of database management to segment, to target, to create offers, and to stimulate demand. Again, most of the investment is on new customers. Then the CMO starts thinking about supporting the sales force. And there's investment behind collateral, sales enablement, promotion, market development funds, tactics that get product on shelf or stimulate product turn or in some other way stimulate sales throughout the marketing period. And then the paradox of which I speak is evident. Very often the last thing CMOs think about is what to do for existing customers. That's right. After the brand is positioned, the demand from new customers is generated, the sales force is enabled, channels primed, then we get around to taking care of our current customers. That seems really odd to me. The CMO Council's 2011 State of Marketing Report surveyed over 750 of its members to gather insights and contributions. The report showed that marketing executives expect to direct the greatest portions of their spend towards advertising and media, strategy and branding, and web properties and digital platforms. Both customer data analytics and customer experience management will likely receive significantly smaller share of the marketing budget, even though improved customer insight was a top mandate from senior management. Especially in a recessionary environment like we're all living through, you'd think that taking care of current customers would be the most important thing a CMO should worry about. Coming up with ways to thank customers for their relationship and encourage them to stay in the franchise. and most important, to inoculate them against the inevitable offer from a competitor. This paradox reminds me of this famous line I see all the time: offer valid for new customers only. Oh, thanks a lot. I've been with you for ages. I get nothing special. But the customer who's never bought your product before gets that special offer. Doesn't seem to make sense, right? Here's an example, on the other hand, of a company that really knows how to treat its loyal customers. And I love to learn about loyalty marketing theory by the practice of real brands. This is a brand who has employees who know and live it, and consumers who are loyalty members. It's called REI. REI has become one of America's most intriguing retailers of outdoor apparel and gear, and in the last several years, REI has transformed itself from a push marketing organization to one embracing a truly customer-centric two-way marketing communications company. This embraces the culture they have already built as a mission-driven retail co-op focused on getting people outside. They definitely get it when it comes to unlocking the hearts of their customers. The entire business is built around the customer. So the first route, to answer the question in the title of my presentation this morning, the first route to unlocking the hearts of your customers is to put that heart at the center of your business plan. Unlocking the hearts of your customers isn't just a marketing initiative. It needs to be looked at as fundamental to the way you manage your business. And it shouldn't be sitting alone in the marketing and sales department. Now, I recognize that not all of us is in a position to write the business plan for our companies. Wouldn't that be nice? But you can be an advocate within your company for the customer. At Aimia, we have a strategy that we talk about all the time in our executive management team, which is to identify those individuals in our client organizations who can champion loyalty, who will advocate for the customer and demonstrate measurable ROI to their management to ensure that loyalty gets its rightful share of the marketing budget, right up there with equal, or in some cases greater, priority as the brand and acquisition of new customers and channel partners. So my first plea this morning is to avoid the paradox of leaving your loyal current customers to the last minute in your marketing thinking. Beyond this odd paradox lies a second truism of loyalty marketing, which is that loyalty has to be earned. You cannot buy your customers' loyalty. Pride of association and aspirational branding are absolutely key to loyalty's success. And going a step further, your product or service has to be one that customers want to be loyal to. And your brand has to be so strong and attractive that customers want to be associated with it. Again, let me give you a few examples of real live brands and how they've experienced what I'm talking about. The first is British Petroleum, or BP as it's now called. A while back, I had the privilege of working at the agency that was doing fantastic work with Lord John Brown, the CEO of British Petroleum, which became the Beyond Petroleum platform. Back then, BP was one of the great visionaries in the oil and gas industry. And then there was the spill. You remember Deepwater Horizon, right? Today, I imagine it'll be difficult to find large numbers of consumers who actively seek to be loyal to BP. They're going to have a huge road to travel before that brand has earned back the level of trust such that high-frequency gasoline purchasers will want to carry a BP loyalty card in their wallet. In this case, customers' loyalty can't be bought. It'll have to be earned back. Another example of the idea that loyalty has to be earned comes from one of the most iconic companies of our time. It's not Apple, because everybody loves to talk about Apple. It's IBM. I had the privilege of working with IBM as a client for many, many years. Our first wave of global research during the beginning of the IBM turnaround uncovered something very interesting about IBM when it comes to loyalty. No one questioned that IBM's products were great. They were. No one questioned that IBM stood behind everything it sold. They did. And IBM always provided great IBM Blue Suit sales support. The problem was very few people, especially the most loyal and tech-savvy IT managers at large companies, wanted to be associated with the IBM brand. And small businesses definitely chucked IBM as a brand that was not for them. It was big, old, stodgy, establishment, slow, expensive. Microsoft was young, nimble, cool, the future. HP was innovative. Dell offered great value. Sun and Oracle were shining examples of the high-tech industry. Today, IBM is one of the top performers in the tech space, with a loyal customer base that would be the envy of the industry. Why? What happened? IBM, starting with the CEO, made it desirable to be associated with that brand again. They proved relevant, modern, smart. They used marketing to create platforms such as everything the customer saw reinforced the Smarter Planet platform, which has engendered great loyalty when brands like Dell, HP, and the famous Kodak are struggling mightily. So the lesson here is that loyalty begins with a strong brand, a superior product, and a great experience that customers actively seek to be loyal to, where loyalty is earned, not bought. It can't be bought. The customer is too smart for that. The third route to unlocking your customers' hearts is to earn their loyalty through the performance of the organization. When companies do what they say they will do, customers will return that behavior and are much more likely to be long-term loyal. Take a look at the brands showcased in the 15th annual Brand Keys Loyalty Leaders List. Looking at that list, you can see the top performers. What is it that all of these companies have in common? How do they unlock the hearts of their customers? Here are a couple of highlights from the study that made the list, starting with Amazon. Amazon, to read just a couple of highlights, its loyalty program called Amazon Prime is growing 20% per year and now has 5 million customers signed up for it. Zappos used a loyalty-based business model from the get-go, creating a culture around that brand that naturally encourages repeat buying. And the one I love the most, everybody wrote Mary Kay Cosmetics off. This organization knows loyalty inside and out. It's the center of their entire promise to the customer. There is good news among the challenges we all face in this kind of environment that we can learn from companies like this. And the good news is that despite the paradox that I referred to earlier, marketers, I think, are starting to get it. There's widespread evidence in the research that CEOs and CFOs and CMOs are starting to place greater priority on securing customer loyalty and supporting it with greater investment behind current customers. A year or so ago, IBM did a terrific study where they spoke face-to-face, very rigorous sample size. They spoke face-to-face with more than 1,500 CEOs worldwide. One of the key data points showed that customer intimacy is foremost on their minds. 88% of global CEOs, when asked, cited getting closer to their customers as the most important priority to realize their strategy in the next 5 years. These CEOs are on record in realizing that they must not only stay connected with customers, but keep on keeping on, learning how to strengthen those bonds, and putting marketing initiatives in place to demonstrate their priority to the customer. And in a follow-up global CMO study to complement the CEO study that was just released, CMOs see customer loyalty as their top priority in the digital age. Good news. So while we're talking about getting closer to customers, let's look at a few examples of enlightened companies that have hung their entire strategy on getting closer to the customer and proving it through enhanced loyalty efforts. First, the famous Starbucks. Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks, returned after retirement to Starbucks as CEO in 2008, just as the company was struggling mightily. It was experiencing sales declines. It had its first quarterly loss as a public company, and it was closing store after a very aggressive international expansion. By its own admission, after they wrote the case study on how to build a business around superior product and customer experience, Starbucks took its eye off the ball. They focused more on growth rather than enhancing what was already a pretty good customer experience. This great bond of loyalty that had been created was allowed to be taken for granted, and little by little it started to evaporate. The formula began to fail as the level of intimacy that spawned a new generation of coffee enthusiasts lost its center of gravity. Here we are 3 years later. Starbucks is booming again, and back to being in a position to grow as never before. Schultz wrote a book called Onward, which chronicles this transformation, and in it he talks all about loyalty. The loyalty program, My Starbucks Rewards, is a big part of it. Starbucks had always been a company that defined itself by the customer experience and going the extra mile for the customer. Schultz's intention to create strategic change started by returning the loyal faithful to the core Starbucks customer. It wasn't just the remodeled customer-friendly stores, the new point-of-sale system, free Wi-Fi, menu expansion, barista training. What led to the turnaround, Howard Schultz said in a Wall Street Journal interview, was, quote, putting our feet in the shoes of our customers, understanding what they were dealing with, and the anxiety of the financial crisis. In addition to that, getting our own people to understand what was at stake and specifically asking them to be more accountable. We were growing the company with such speed and aggression that we lost sight of the customer experience. Now, for every example of a successful company, there is also something to be learned from those who once commanded great loyalty and somehow failed to live up to the promise to return that loyalty over time. Which brings me to my fourth loyalty learning about unlocking the heart of your customers, which is once you have it, you must respect it. Let's start most recently with another brand that's in the news, Netflix. As the New York Times so artfully put it in a recent article, Netflix, the company that changed the way tens of millions of people watch films and television, is quickly discovering that there's a downside to having cultivated a passionate, loyal base. I mean, Netflix was all about loyalty until Reed Hastings, the CEO, showed up one day and announced a plan to split Netflix into two separate businesses, which was interpreted by Netflix loyalists everywhere as a violation of the loyalty promise. Netflix loyalists who came to rely on low prices, innovative product, and great customer service turned against them as soon as they felt slighted. Can you imagine a worse situation than waking up one day with 17,000 customers who immediately blast you in every social media channel possible? That's what happened to Netflix. And you know what else happened? They're trying to undo it. Last week, Netflix reversed itself and apologized and hit the reset button. They realized the power of loyal customers and took action out of respect for that. As USA Today said on October 10th, Netflix is hitting the rewind on that business plan. After listening to customer outcry, Netflix CEO Reed Hastings announced that the company was backtracking on a plan to separate its DVD rental and streaming businesses. But is it possible to recover from a breach of the loyalty promise? Customer statements like, I just got your email, and as a longtime customer, quite frankly, I found it to be offensive, and perhaps a devastating miscalculation of your business, arouse such passion and fire in people that you've got to expect they're going to be equally passionate when they feel betrayed. And that's what happened, and time will tell on Netflix. Here's one more, JetBlue. I want to talk about JetBlue because their meteoric rise was driven by an explicit promise contained in their bond with the customer. This high flyer was utterly pummeled in 2007 when passengers were stranded on planes due to a snowstorm for up to 10 hours. The CEO said he would announce a compensation system for passengers to win quick forgiveness from customers and to demonstrate that he takes the airline's failings seriously. This is going to be a very different company because of this, the CEO said. It's going to be expensive, but what's more important is to win back people's confidence. Matt Lauer from the Today Show said it best when he commented to the CEO, "You spent thousands of man-hours and millions of dollars creating an image for this airline that is passenger-friendly. What was it like to watch one snowstorm basically take that image and flush it down the drain?" Netflix and JetBlue violated their explicit loyalty promise because they created it, and then look what happens when it's not respected. The bond is shattered. The customer feels betrayed. I believe that if JetBlue had had open, honest, and frequent communication and had demonstrated a passion to look after those passengers who were stranded by the snowstorm, they might have been granted a hall pass because, after all, nobody can control a snowstorm. But in this case, all goodwill was shattered by one incident where the power of loyalty was not respected. The lesson here is to respect the power of loyalty once it's been earned. So from all of these examples comes a fifth route to unlocking the heart of your customers, which is to focus the entire brand experience around delighting them. Be sure everyone in your organization, from top management right through the organization chart, truly understands, is committed to, and lives the promise that you make to your most loyal customers. This is one of those things that says really easy, but actually does hard in real life. If that promise is broken, even in the smallest way, if any customer feels slighted or that you've not lived up to the promise they've given you with their loyalty, it will be very, very hard to earn back. Curiously, sometimes, it's actually not necessary to do a complete overhaul to get into your customers' hearts. In many cases, it's the little things that matter most. One of the brands I love is called OpenTable. Let's take a look at OpenTable. It's a user-friendly way to book restaurant reservations all around the world. And yes, they do have a loyalty effort in place for customers. But I bet many of us, unless we're waiters or waitresses, would expect to see what OpenTable's system provides to its restaurants. This is an example of a real receipt that's generated for the waitstaff at a fairly upscale restaurant. Its intent is to make sure the waiter or waitress knows the very specific little things about the customer who is sitting in the restaurant at that time. Things like the patron's children's names, his dislike of onions, what he's ordered before. In this case, these are little things, but they certainly make a difference when trying to unlock the heart of your customer and build stronger relationships. Finally, I want to talk about Marriott. Marriott does an amazing job, as many hotels do, of taking care of their current customers. And much of what they do isn't designed to be outward. It isn't designed to capture the attention of a great mass of people, but it's designed to take care of the individual, one-on-one, one at a time. The person who is standing at the front desk night after night, city after city, who really comes to appreciate those little things that matter most. Whether it's an upgrade to the presidential suite on a personal vacation, when it's open, to the nice platter of wine and cheese, the consistent service, pleasant chatter on the concierge level, to the ability to get a room when all others see sold out, to the surprise and delight gifts that arrive back home, or the truly exclusive offers on the website. These little things matter most and make a stamp each day mentally with the consumer. It would be a mistake if we didn't quickly talk about technology and the huge role it plays in creating and facilitating and enabling loyalty. In that IBM study I referred to earlier, Michael Ward from Harrods says technology is already impacting our clients' behavior. Currently, clients are price checking over 4 continents using today's technology. I'd like to talk about Procter & Gamble. We handle the P&G Pampers loyalty program, which is known as Gifts to Grow. And imagine a new mom who has more than just a few things going on in her life. She's busy, she's tired, and she spends a lot of money on diapers. P&G hired us to refine the strategies and tactics of their Gifts to Grow program while keeping the successful core of the program intact. We knew the program would become stronger and more effective if we better leveraged the transaction data and improved the overall experience using technology. Procter took example of our proprietary patented technology to enable the loyalty program to build stronger relationships with that frazzled mom. And given the amount of money they're spending, they want as much value So the program helps them feel better about the choices they're making for their baby and family. Technology plays a huge part in this. Moms earn points with purchases and can now input their codes via their mobile phone. Before, it was time-consuming to enter codes online. Now they can use their mobile device. Easy for them, easy for P&G, easy on their psyche, and easy on the emotional and rational bank account. This program, Gifts to Grow, is generating a very substantial effect on market share among program members. And from an ROI perspective, it's one of the highest producing marketing initiatives for P&G globally. Now let's look at a very different customer experience enabled by technology, one which revolves around a product that can be purchased anywhere, from a dirty gas station, school campus, or upscale grocer. And when it's about $1 out of your pocket, and the entire experience can be consumed in less than 1 minute, how do you really delight your customer? I'd like to say it's important to recognize interactions, not transactions. What I mean is that while the economic factor is important, it's also important to realize that your customers need to interact with you more than just on the purchase level. Let me share with you an example. My Coke Rewards is an internet-only loyalty program we designed where members simply enter the codes found on certain products to earn points. It's about multiple brands where members can enter up to 10 codes per day and use their points to get both merchandise and sweepstakes entries. It's where interactions count as much as transactions. Mobile-enabled, technology has played a huge role in developing this initiative to establish a one-on-one dialogue directly with consumers and get into their hearts, allowing Coke to leverage the strength of its brand with retailers and customers. Here, technology is proved to enable and facilitate loyalty to clearly delight the customer. In the UK, the Coke Zone loyalty website is the #1 packaged goods website for 3 months running. Loyalty marketing isn't rocket science, but it does require an inspired balance between art and science. The art around the customer experience, the science of rigorous analytics, smart enabling technology, and measurement. But at the end of the day, all of us in this room need to be champions for loyalty in our businesses and to carry the loyalty torch throughout the organization. You just need 2 or 3 people to really make a difference. I've showed you the research where the tide is turning and marketers are starting to get it when it comes to understanding how to lock their customers' hearts. It's not going to be a quick fix. It takes lots of hard work, dedication, year in and year out investment and commitment, but it's the fiscally responsible thing to do and the way to carry your business, particularly through a recession. So in closing, here are the 5 key points to take away today that you can immediately use to unlock the hearts of your customers. First, put their hearts at the center of your business plan. Second, recognize that their loyalty has to be earned. You can't buy it. Third, you can earn loyalty through superior performance. Fourth, once you earn loyalty, you have to respect it. You can't declare victory and move on. And finally, focus your entire brand experience around delighting the customer. I'd like to close with a great quote from our client at Hallmark Cards. Lisa McPherson is the Senior Vice President of Marketing for Hallmark and gave an interview where she cited, quote, an ever-increasing need to understand and fulfill customer preferences as the single biggest change she's seen in the industry over the course of her career. An ever-increasing need to understand and fulfill customer preferences. She goes on to state that loyalty marketing, this is a brand that spends tens of millions of dollars in marketing, loyalty marketing is the most effective channel for Hallmark. 13 million customers, 8 million active members. The Crown Rewards program is truly multi-channel, mobile-enabled, utilizing every possible means of connecting with loyal customers. Lisa states, as powerful and as beloved as our brand is, it played a narrow role in consumers' lives. The Crown Rewards loyalty program speaks to our brand loyalists, and they know, and we know, they want to hear from us. I believe done properly, your loyal customers will always want to hear from you. Thank you very much.
I'm cognizant of time, but I wanted to make sure if anybody in the audience had a question, had a chance to ask Peter while we have him in front of us. Can't see anybody if anybody's raising a hand or not. Okay, I've got one question for you, Peter, which is, going back to the history of this space and loyalty marketing business. When you think about the conversations that folks used to have 20 years ago, right, where loyalty was seen as an add-on and people didn't necessarily take it seriously, and the loyalty marketing team was shunted into the back offices in the corporations with no windows. And now we see that all the conversation about data being the new oil and the importance of data-based customer insight. And we've also seen some very big players start to get into the space. The Googles and the Facebooks and those guys are starting to talk about the power of this stuff that we've been talking about 20 years ago. So my question is, do you find in this environment that the conversations with clients about the power of this stuff is getting easier? Is it getting more is it still challenging, or is the evolution of the dialogue made most folks really understand what database customer insight is all about?
I would say it's two things. I think, first of all, it's a generational thing. The people who are coming into the marketing function and clients get it. They understand loyalty, even if they haven't spent 20 years working in loyalty marketing. They think about the customer. They think about taking care of the customer. They think about differentiating around quality customer experience. And so it's easy to have conversations with those kinds of clients. And there's in some cases, the most enlightened ones. I think the more traditional chief marketing officers or senior clients are coming around to thinking about loyalty for two reasons. One, relative to the other things they could be investing in, it's not that expensive relative to a major brand ad campaign, for example, or a huge acquisition demand generation campaign. And two, they have all this data that they don't know what to do with. You've heard the term data rich and analysis poor. I still find there are an awful lot of organizations that have tons and tons of data. They're data rich, but they don't know what to do with it, which is one of the reasons why we've organized our entire proposition at Aimia around insights gleaned from data. So the first cut that they take at data is current customer data. And when that's done properly with the appropriate rigor and insight, out of that falls a loyalty strategy. Right. And I think that's happening with a lot more frequency today than it has historically been the case.